Crime is everywhere and consistently on the rise. Quick and easy cases are solved daily, but what of those other cases? The ones that have gone cold with no new leads or information. The famous serial killers have been captured and made public. But what of those still on the loose, or even worse, still killing? Welcome to the realm of darkness. Your host, Rainey and Ashley, will be your guides into the mysterious world of true crime cases and stories. Here are your hosts, Rainey and Ashley.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Tonight, Rainey is actually not able to join us. It's her daughter's birthday, so she's out celebrating and eating cake today. So I have one of my great friends, Katie. She's going to be joining us. We are going to be talking parents that kill. There's a lot of kind of drama going around the new Casey Anthony documentary. And, we thought with everything going on, it'd be a great time to talk about it. So I do want to tell you guys, I freaked out a little bit right before we went live because the update your computer popped up and I was like, no.
I did that like 20 minutes ago. And I'm like, no, not now.
I know. And it normally takes like 30 minutes. I'm like, well, there goes half the show. Katie's going to have to do it herself. But Katie, so I know that you watched the documentary this week while we were on Casey.
I did.
And
I did.
For anybody who might be living under a rock and may not know who Casey Anthony is, she is the infamous single mother from, I think it was 2007 or 8, where her 3-year-old daughter went missing. Mm-hmm. And she did not file a missing persons report for about 31 days. And it was actually her mother who did it. And in this time of them searching for her daughter, she didn't take any posters, nothing. And they said she was out partying. Right. So that's kind of like the Cliff Note version, just to get you into where we're going. So with you watching that documentary, you being a mother, mm-hmm. How did you take it?
So the first 15, 20 minutes, I definitely was like, she's guilty. I don't know why I'm watching this. This is stupid. I had my mindset. And then I got into it. And I'm not saying that she's not guilty. Like, she definitely screwed up. She definitely should have made some phone calls. She, should have done things very differently. And she admits that. She admits, I'm a liar. I'm a thief. I deserve my felony for, creating the chaos that I created, but I didn't kill my daughter. And the first episode, there's only 3. The first episode really delves into kind of some of the mistakes she made and a lot of the lies and why she did what she did. And you start to realize that this woman, this 36, 37-year-old woman is still in this episode acting like a child. And really, like, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, this is dumb. I can't believe that she's still doing this after 11 years.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden,
don't go too far because that's going to be the end of it. The last, yeah.
So all of a sudden, she kind of flips and she becomes this woman, and she has gone through a lot of therapy, and you start to see a very different Casey Anthony. And I'll be honest, I didn't want to see it. I am so convinced this horrible mother did this to her daughter, and that was going to be my end all be all.
Yes. And that's a hard thing, because I did watch the documentary. I'll tell everybody, we were texting back and forth about it and what we were feeling. And, she got pregnant when she was 18 or 19. Nobody knew who the dad was. She
lied. She lied about who the father was. I think she knows who the dad is. And she straight up said, no, it is not my father. And it
Yeah.
is not Jesse. I
Well, Jesse
honestly
was her
can't remember.
fiance, for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah. I don't remember if she ever actually said who the father was, but she said it's not important. Casey was
Right.
mine. The father really didn't want to say anything. And that
Right.
was okay. And that was our, where we were. That's what we were
Right.
going to do. He wanted nothing to do with Kaylee. I was fine with it. This is where it was.
Well, see, and that's where the lies start.
Right.
So before we get into the back end of why people start to relate to Casey Anthony and why people are now kind of looking at maybe she didn't do it, you're right. She lied about the father of her child, and she lied about that for years. And then, when her daughter went missing, nobody knew a thing for 31 days. And her mother is the one who actually made the missing persons report. And then when Casey was arrested, she said, oh, I dropped her off at a babysitter. She's fine. She told the apartment building that she dropped her off at, which was a lie. She admitted in the documentary that the babysitter or nanny that she claimed was just a person she knew. She had never watched her daughter, was never a nanny. Right. She lied about her employment, where she worked. She lied about everything. So I 100%
too,
can
because
see
she lied about police claims.
Like everything, things that weren't necessary to lie about.
Yeah.
And I think with that happening,
she lied about timelines. But the funny thing is that what she told people really wasn't the lie. It was the amount of time. Like, she had been to those apartment complexes with her best friend. Her best friend lived there. She just said that she had been there before. The police asked, have you ever been here? Yes, I did. So it was like a lie that didn't need to be told. Right. But why were we doing it? She knew Zanny. She knew
that the nanny lived in that apartment building.
Right. Yeah. So it was like this over exaggerated lie. And it was funny because she finally cops to it. And that's where I kind of had to sit back and go, wait a minute, 11 years you allowed this to happen? Like, you were on death row. You were going to allow these people to convict you of murdering your child and go to the death chamber to protect. And that's where, again, so the second episode into the final episode.
And that's where things get
trauma. Let me just say, unhealed trauma does amazing things. And listen, we could all benefit from therapy, me included. But there are just certain things that, again, as a mother, I would go to the ends of the earth for my son. Right. I would go to the ends of the earth for a child. I work in a school. Like, I can't imagine 31 days of believing a lie and never questioning because I was so scared of.
Well, and that, let's get into that because the thing, being a mother, I could not imagine 31 days of not speaking to my child, knowing where my child is, who they're with. And
we've all lost our kid in the grocery store for 8 seconds.
Right. Imagine I lost my kid in my house. I was freaking out.
Right.
But for that amount of time, and okay, she was young. She was a baby. Casey was young.
She's 19. Listen, we all remember. Guys, take a deep breath. Remember what you were doing at 19. Because what I was doing, I'm surprised I don't have a record.
21 when Kaylee went missing. So in the documentary, for anybody that hasn't watched it, Casey Anthony has she's never spoken out about the situation. She has 11 years. She's never done an interview. Now her parents have done interviews, brothers, friends, all of this. She has not. In this interview, she admits everything that she did wrong, things that she wished she could have done better, things that she could have done different. But
July of 2008 is when Kaylee went missing.
Yeah. But for the first time, because we didn't hear any of this in the media, for the very first time, we're hearing that she was molested as a child.
Yeah.
Not only was she molested by her brother, fondling, which is still molesting, but she was fondled and touched by her brother, but she was physically raped by her father. And,
and here's the thing, you can look at it two ways. You have the people that say, well, this is just a ploy. This is just to get, money. Listen, I was that person.
Why 11 years?
Right. And again, that unhealed trauma, you're going to protect your abuser. It's no different than Munchausen. There's a lot of different things. And once you get to a point where you no longer care about that and that person no longer has that hold over
Mhm.
you, that's where the healing begins. And again, this is where this documentary, you kind of sit there and go, okay, well, I remember this line, I remember this media thing, and I
Mhm.
remember this jail conversation, and they were great about playing this stuff over
Yes.
and over and over. And you start to go, oh, well, I didn't realize he was standing there looking like that. I didn't realize he
Yeah.
said this. I
And
didn't realize, and then all of a sudden, hearing her perspective and then
Mhm.
seeing what you see, you
Yeah.
kind of go, oh,
Well, and here's
okay,
my thing is, do I think she did it? I just as a mother, I can't fathom the idea of how she did things. So
right.
I'm not going to say yes or no. But it's almost like an abusive relationship.
Mhm.
People question, well, why are you still with them? Why are you still with them? Why don't you leave? Because you're scared, you're
Right.
brainwashed, you've been manipulated, you feel that nobody else is going to love you, and blah
Yep.
blah blah. But and people are saying that she's making this stuff up, but then why
Yep.
wait 11 years?
Right.
She's finally to that point in her life where she's ready to cut ties. She
Right.
hasn't talked to her she hasn't talked to her parents. And one of the things that really upset me in the documentary is when she finally got the courage to tell her mom that she was raped, and her mom
You can
said,
blame.
"Is that why you're a whore?"
Yep.
And
I will say, not much makes me cry, not much makes me have to pause things.
right.
That moment, because I think we've all been in, not that situation, but in a moment with a friend, an a
Mhm.
relationship, a
You're
parent, where
vulnerable.
you're telling your side and you're 100%,
Mhm.
and someone doesn't believe you. And you
Your own
go,
mother.
yeah, and that I think is the worst, is that,
Yes.
that circle of people, those people that you can go to for anything, and whether or not they believe you, they're gonna go, "Okay, you're
Mhm.
telling me this, I get it, let's delve into it." But to have someone say, "I don't believe you," and then call you a whore,
Mhm.
I can't imagine, and she said it too, and it was finally at a point where I guess the father wasn't in the house, so it was just
Mhm.
mom, grandma, and baby. And
Mhm.
she finally got the courage to say, "Mom, this happened, and I need you to believe me."
Mhm.
And
And
she
she
still couldn't.
didn't.
No.
Well, and then, in the documentary, she does talk about a lot of where when she would go to sleep, she would have Kaylee in bed with her because she lived with her parents,
That barrier, yeah.
and her brother lived in the house and her dad lived in the house, and she even said that she was scared, and that's why she had Kaylee sleep with her a lot.
Yep.
And there's a part of me that does think that when something like this happens, the media instantly picks a side, and
Yeah,
then they portray
absolutely.
you however you wanna be portrayed, and, one of the things I didn't notice or that I didn't know is all those pictures of her out partying, getting tattoos, and doing this and doing that back
For
when it was
years.
going on. I'm like, "What is she doing?" Like,
Yeah.
her child's missing.
Yep.
To then 11 years later find out that some of these pictures were 3, 4, 5 years old. The
Yeah.
media got a hold of them, and they twisted this entire story to make her look like a killer.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, the only person who knows what happened is truly Kaylee.
Right.
But to hear Casey's side and then to hear that her father could be
Yeah.
responsible for Kaylee's death was mind blowing to
Yep.
me. And the
And
fact that he was never investigated, nobody else was
well, and that was the other
investigated,
thing, is that
just
she was
her.
saying, you know, if you look at what he said on the stand and then what he was saying to the media, why didn't anyone catch on to the fact
Mhm,
it was two different things? In the media, he's saying, "I believe my daughter. She
mhm,
didn't do this. I know she didn't do this." And
mhm,
on the stand, he's essentially sending her to the electric chair or having a needle in her arm.
mhm,
And there's another point which you know it, but there's a gentleman that comes on screen that is told this information, and he was a lot like me in the beginning, where he was like, "She's guilty.
mhm,
You will never change my mind." And to see the light bulb not go
mhm,
on, but go off,
mhm.
and him sit back and go, "Oh."
Yeah.
That it's moments like that that make you really think. And again, just like you said, Casey and Kaylee and George and Cindy are the only
Mhm.
ones that know what really happened on that day.
Yeah.
And I hope to God at the end of all of their lives, it gets sorted out.
Yes. Yes.
And as a mom, again, you're like, I can't fathom what
Mhm.
she did, but I
But
understand trauma and I
yes,
understand that
yes,
debilitating need
fear.
for someone to believe you and that debilitating need to keep someone's lie going
Mhm,
and that debilitating need to still protect and then act like everything's okay and
mhm.
go to work and go to school and do all of these things. So I'm very torn after watching this thing
Yes,
because again, I don't want to believe that she didn't do it.
right.
Now I'm looking at it very
But
differently.
but
Like
here's the
there's
thing.
still a baby gone. At the end of this tiny little peanut is
Yeah.
dead.
But here's the thing though, is do we not wanna believe that she's innocent because that's how the media conditioned our minds for
Right.
so many years?
Well,
It's
think
a
about
huge
how many other cases are like this. Think of how many
yeah.
other people are sitting on death row or sitting in a jail or
Mhm.
sitting even in our own families that you're
Yes,
like, crazy Uncle John, crazy Uncle Bill. Like, think of how many times we've been told something
yeah,
only to
and we
find out
believe
later
it
that right. And it's like
because it
I've
was
always
somebody
said,
we
there's
love.
three sides to every story, his,
Yes,
hers, and the truth. And
yes,
somewhere in the middle is what really happened.
yes.
And, it's funny. I had never thought in a million years that I would be saying this right now, but it's like,
Right.
there's a part of me that wants to be like, I want to meet her. I want to talk to her. I
Yeah.
want to look her in the eye. Cause again, I'm a very, you know, look at you, talk to you, have a conversation,
Mhm.
and I'm watching for every little tick in her face.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I'm watching
Like,
for any sign. And it was like,
what
you know
did I
what?
text you
The
in the
crocodile tears. So we
beginning?
were talking about the fake
Yes.
tear.
I
And then
literally text Katie and was like, "I'm only 5 minutes in and I've rolled my eyes 3 times."
3 times.
You
Yeah.
know? But then
But
when you
now
get
you're
into
like,
that 2nd episode
yeah.
and she's
And
bawling
and
and
listen, and again, we've all been there. We've all been in those sobbing tears where you can't
yes,
breathe and your nose
and I
swells.
believed it.
Yeah.
It
And
was
that's the thing.
it's
You can be
hard.
a great actress, but
Right,
then there's also like you can't fake that. And as a
right.
mom, again, when your child is sick, how you
Mhm.
feel that you can't make them better.
Yeah.
Imagine your daughter being dead and then for 11 years not being
Mhm.
able to just simply walk into Starbucks to get a coffee, not be able to
Yeah.
go to the grocery store, not
Because
have
you were threatening your
family.
life.
Right.
Yes. So yes, Kaylee lost her life, and it's an awful, horrible tragedy. And I hope that that poor little girl's at peace. And
Right.
you know, if we'll say if Casey did not do this, she also lost a
Everything.
life. She lost her
Right.
daughter and she lost her life because I could not imagine walking down the street knowing that there's a ton of people that want to, beat
Kill
the
me.
hell out of me or kill you
Nope.
or and people are calling you a baby killer and you're a liar and you're this and that and that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life because 11
Mhm.
years later you hear Casey Anthony and everyone goes, oh, the girl that killed her daughter. And did she
Right.
or did she not? And one of the things that got me too is when she was crying, like you said,
Yeah.
you can be a great actress, but when you're in front of a camera and you're acting, if you cry, you're gonna pretty cry. She
Right.
was sobbing and
She was ugly crying. It
she was
was
ugly crying and she was
right.
wiping and she had the snot and like
Yep.
I just don't think if you were
There's some
acting in
things you
front of a
can't
camera,
fake. Yeah.
you're gonna do something that still kind of makes you look decent, not like the
Right. No, there were moments that I had to pause it and go, am I really like I'm
yeah,
looking for this nose. I'm looking to see like and again, we've all cried and like kind of sucked in our tears or sucked in that snot. Like
mhm,
I'm genuinely looking to see like is she wiping that away or is that and it's going in her lip, it's going down her face. Like
yeah.
I'm looking at
I mean,
this
she was
going,
doing this,
you
like it was,
can't
yeah,
fake yeah. And
yeah,
again, if you're an actress, if you really still didn't do this and you put on this great show,
mhm,
girl, kudos. I give you all the credit in the world, but there's this now part of me that's on the fence. And I went to Reddit, I went to a couple different,
yeah,
websites and wanted to see people's reactions. And
yeah,
it's funny to me because a lot of their reaction is still the negative. It's I won't
yeah,
watch this, I won't give her the satisfaction, I won't. And it's like
mhm.
I get it. I was when I texted you, I was 100% that person. I
You
was
were.
100% this bee is
Yeah,
lying through her teeth. This is about money. She's run out. But here's the thing. She's working with her lawyer. She's
mhm,
actually a researcher for the
Mhm.
lawyer's office. She, works
She helps
and
people like
yeah,
her.
she said, "I don't ever want someone to go through what I've gone through." So you know
Right.
what? She's tried to make a life for herself. She's tried to right the wrongs, and she does it in her honor. And that was the other thing. She's going through video, and there's at one point where she's like, "I can't do this anymore." And she
Yeah.
steps away, and you can hear her sobbing. And
Yes.
again, remember those moments.
That that part got me because
Yeah,
I try to put myself in their shoes when I'm
right.
watching these types of shows, and seeing her put her head down and just simply say, "I can't do this anymore." And she's sitting at the table, and I think you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when
Mhm.
she's sitting there and she's just sobbing, saying, "It hurts." I don't
Yeah,
know how else to say, but it hurts.
yeah.
And I'm sitting there like,
Okay.
that's exactly how you explain it is you miss someone so
Yeah,
bad, it just hurts. You can't
yeah.
explain it, why,
You
how,
can't
what, it
breathe,
just
you can't.
physically
Yeah,
hurts.
and that
And I think that was the moment when I was like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
did she not do this? Did she do
right.
this?"
And
And
her timelines too, when you start to really think about things, like I said,
Mhm,
you start to see her reaction to things. Like there's one jail interview where her father's talking about, they're going to find her, everything's going to be okay. She's coming home, and Casey's looking at her father, and she believes him.
mhm,
And again, knowing what you know and seeing what you've seen, you
mhm,
go, I know why she did that. Why she looks so cold in
mhm,
those
because you
interviews.
believe your dad.
Right. So
Yeah,
if what happened is what she's saying happened, that's cruel. You're
yes,
straight up lying. And then to see, like, there was another interview where he's in the background, Cindy's talking, and
mhm,
Casey's looking like through her mother into him, and he's just
mhm. Well,
not
and what
saying a word. And it's like,
What
again,
about the interview with the mom and dad where they started fighting and arguing and he got
after the
very
accident,
aggressive?
yeah.
Yes, he got very aggressive and was yelling at the mom and
Oh, that
telling her,
one.
"You shut up." And it's like,
Well,
you
what
know
about even at the end where he was in the car accident and he says, "I need to be forgiven." And Cindy turns and says, "But it was an accident."
yeah,
We're not talking about the car, girlfriend.
right?
He's talking about something else.
And I think because here's the other thing, the grandmother, is the one who called. Why
Yeah.
did it take Everybody wants to say, "Why didn't Casey call? Why didn't Casey
Why
call?"
didn't anyone call?
Well, Casey lived with her parents.
Right.
Why didn't the parents call? You see
Right.
your daughter coming home for 31 days with no baby.
Right.
Don't you think you would ask questions? Unless you had something to do with it.
Right.
Now, with her case and everything, maybe the jury got it right. There was not
Right.
enough evidence. It was all circumstantial, and she was found innocent. So even after that, you can't be charged twice for the same crime.
Right.
So honestly, she could come out and say she did it if she really did. I don't
Mhm.
think I don't think somebody's going to hold on to something like that long. But you know me, and I love to be devil's advocate.
Mhm.
So I I do believe that there is a little bit of sexism when it comes to the court system.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, if you take Casey Anthony's entire case, everything that happened, every word, every lie, okay? Now make her a man.
Right.
Do you think that he would have been found innocent?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It's no different than Johnny Depp. A man
Mhm.
can say, "I was sexually assaulted, I was abused, I was this," and no one believes him because men are strong and, this amazing community of men,
Mhm.
but a woman says it and we believe her.
But do you
So,
think that if it was a man who came for, that said, "Oh, my child was missing for 31 days," and
no, he would have been
you know
crucified immediately. That was it. He would be in
yes.
jail and he'd be on death row and
Mhm. It
murdered
wouldn't have been
within 10 months.
It would not have been drug out as long as it was with
No.
Casey Anthony. You're right, he would have been instantly convicted. Nobody would have listened to any type of trauma that he had
Right.
gone through in his life. He would have gone into prison, and let's be
Mhm.
honest, we all know what happens in prison to people
Right.
who hurt children, physically, mentally, emotionally.
And it's funny you say that too, because in an all-female prison where you have mothers who can't see their
Mhm,
kids and nothing happened to her. And
mm-mm,
even though she was in solitary, you sit and you say, there were points where she was out there. She was on that phone. You could see people walking around.
Mhm.
So either no one really believed that she did this, or people did believe it, but
Mhm.
couldn't get to her. But it's like, even again, after 11 years out in public, no one's gotten to her. Like, this
Right.
is where I look and I say, well, why?
Mhm.
Why are we 11 years later doing this?
Mhm.
And again, I believe her. And she covered up the tattoo. And that was another thing. Like, I remember seeing the tattoo on her back and being like, wow, that's not prominent, huge, and exactly what you wouldn't want someone to see and
Right.
catch you out. And then to hear the
Right.
backstory as to not only the Bella Vita tattoo, but
But
then
it
to
was
why she covered it up, like the
right.
cover up, you're like, oh. And again, I have the text.
Yeah.
I am that person. And again, for anyone that knows Virgos, once we're done, we're done. We don't care who you are, what you are. You can be blood. We are done with you. And
Yeah.
I kind of had this weird, not change of heart, but this like, I need to look at this at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And those 3 episodes definitely gave me like a new eye-opening view. And there's a couple other things on Peacock, on Hulu, and I think on Netflix that I definitely think people should check out. Keep an open mind. I don't care whether you love or hate her.
Right.
Keep
But
an
I
open
think
mind.
also,
Watch it.
I think so. All of the ones on Hulu, Netflix, all the different streaming devices aside
Yes.
from Peacock, those are all her parents, her
Yeah.
friends, other family members, and media.
Yeah.
I think, as viewers, if you watch that, yes, like Katie said, keep an open mind. It's everything that we've been hearing for the last 11 years. But when you sit down and watch the one on Peacock, Katie and I are both very hard-headed, and once we get set in our ways,
What
we're
are you talking
set.
about?
And it's really hard to change our mind.
Yeah.
But and we were texting back and forth last night and the last couple nights watching this and going like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
do you see this? And it was like the same section. We're like, oh my God, maybe she
I think there was even one point where I was like, crap.
Yeah.
Dot. Like,
Yes.
like there was that aha moment for me where I was like, I need to
Mhm.
reevaluate that. Like, I need to stop looking at this like a hard-headed person and look at it
Yes.
almost like a detective. Look at it like
Mhm.
a medical examiner and say like, okay, I need to pretend like I know nothing
Yes.
and let's hear. And that was the thing. Like, I do remember even today going back and forth between what I had already seen in the media
Mhm.
and then her version of it, and then going
And
back to the media and being like,
I'm glad you said that, because would we feel that way about her if it wasn't for the media? And think about
right.
how much the media plays into society and
Mhm.
how we feel about people. There's one thing that they can focus on and they twist it and
Right.
instantly,
And that's
they
anybody. Look at
make
politics,
somebody look
look at
bad.
music,
Mhm.
look at,
Yeah.
artists, look at anything in the media,
Yes.
religion, look at anything. And if people don't understand it, like our
Yeah.
other field, the paranormal, if you don't understand it, how can you keep an open mind? How can,
Yeah.
if you believe one
Right.
thing, and that's all you believe, and I'm telling you, here's my experience, and here's some other way to look at it, and you are so
Mhm.
closed-minded and hard-headed that you will never see that, how is society supposed to evolve? How are we supposed to grow?
Well, and I think unfortunately, a lot of the media is news outlets. It's not
Yeah.
just Yahoo and TikTok, and I mean TikTok wasn't around back then, but in Facebook and all these things, but the media,
Mhm.
the news stations,
Well, that was
they
the other thing that they dubbed this the first trial by media. And it really was. Like, there was Facebook
yeah,
pages, there were Instagram page, there were specific pages dedicated
yes,
to just this
yes,
trial.
and
Imagine
mhm,
that. Imagine trying to get a fair trial, trying to go into court,
mhm,
trying to do anything where
yep,
not only do you have 12 jurors that are
mhm,
told, don't listen to the news. And, again, you have radical news, you have the
mhm,
mainstream news, you have
mhm,
these third wing news, but it's like,
yep,
imagine only getting one side. And
mhm,
again, being so scared that for 11 years, you didn't think you had a voice.
yeah,
So not only are you accused, tried, slightly convicted by the media, not
mhm,
by your peers, but by the
mhm,
media, and then told, go ahead with life. Bye.
yeah,
You're not safe in jail. You're not safe outside.
Yep.
Good luck.
And even your parents
right.
just kick you out. So, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to her defense attorneys because,
Yeah.
you know, they took her under she's living with them. They took her under their wings. They gave her a safe place to be, you know,
Mhm.
and I think I don't know. I it's hard for me
It's
to say
hard.
whether I think she did it or not because for
I'm
so
still very much on
long.
the fence. I do
Yes.
believe she lied. I believe she
Yes.
covered up. I believe
But
she knows what happened.
we've all made mistakes.
Right.
And
But
think about being 19, 20
yeah.
when you're having, I mean, hell, I'm 34. And if I had police knocking on my door, I'd be like, oh God, you know,
What do
and
I
I
do?
would call my family for advice. And if my
Right.
family said, do this, say this, do that,
Right.
I probably would, you
Right.
know, because they have more wisdom. They've been around longer. And I
Right.
would trust that my family would have my best interests at heart. But just watching her family, I don't think they did. I really do think her dad
Well,
knows more
remember
than what he's
too,
saying.
what was her father in Ohio before they moved to Florida? He was a detective. And there was
Mhm.
parts of
So
that
he
interview
knows.
too where he said when he was talking to the police, "We need to do this. We
Yes.
need to find the answers." He wasn't coming at this saying, "I'm grandpa, I'm dad, and I need this." He was steering everything. He did it in court. He did it in the police station.
Mhm.
So again, you trust your father, you trust your
Mhm.
parent to be behind you,
Yes.
and he's leading the police
Mhm.
away from him,
And straight to her.
directing at you,
Yes.
but still keeping it enough that people aren't pointing fingers. And when he would say, "I don't believe my daughter did this. I don't believe my daughter killed her." I think he's telling the truth. I don't believe Casey did this. Casey knew what happened. Casey lied. She told the story that was told to her to
I
tell.
well,
But
I
do I
think she
think
knew
she
what
was the one
happened
that
to
actually killed
a
her
point.
daughter? No.
I think she knew what happened to a point.
Yeah.
I don't think she knew what happened to Kaylee, and she tells her story in this
Right.
documentary, but I think she knew that her dad had something to do with this.
Mhm.
He took her away from her and said, "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay." And
Mhm.
she even
Believed
says
him.
that she thought Kaylee was fine until they found her body.
Right.
You know,
And that was the other
and
thing that killed
they
me.
only found it a mile from her grandparents' house.
Right. Well, and
Only
how
a
she
mile.
found out was, I think, cruel. And
Yes.
having a loved one that was killed and having the media up our family's butts,
Mhm.
I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to have family members find out by the media and not by
Mhm.
your own voice, and that killed me. And
That's
and
awful.
it's in the episode, and you can watch it. But that broke me. That definitely, you see her physically react, not verbally because it's CCTV.
Right.
But and if you've ever lost a loved one to any, whether it be an
Mhm.
accident, a death,
Crime.
cancer, anything,
Yes.
you know what that loss feels like. You
Yeah.
know that physical reaction to a final breath or learning the news.
Yeah.
And I believe it. She's in a police station, she's in the jail, and she learns her daughter is dead.
It's
I can't imagine that.
I don't even know if I'd wanna leave after that. I'd be like, "Well, my life's over."
Right.
And
And I'll say I'm definitely surprised that she didn't take her own life,
me too.
knowing how much she suffered, and to hear her physical words of saying, "I have nothing." Your
Mhm.
first reaction is, "Well, why are you still here then?"
Yeah.
And then to
Yeah.
know, like, the strength. And
Mhm.
again, it's hard for me to even say this, and I know I'm kind of smiling, but it's like,
No, but
wow.
it's true. It's true. It's
This
a
is
case that is
mind-blowing.
just it's not one of those cut and dry cases. You
No.
know, it's one of those ones that we're conditioned, we're told what to believe, and just like
Yeah.
she was, and so we believe it. We're like, how could the media be wrong? How could the police be wrong? How could all this so-called evidence be wrong? And then this comes out because up until this day, she never really talked. She never spoke about it. She wasn't on every
Right.
camera and news station telling her side like the
Right.
parents were. So
You're
it was
getting
not.
the parents' side,
Yes,
and
and
they're
she
saying they speak for her, but then
yeah,
they're saying that they don't speak for her.
right. So
And
she just had to. I mean, it's not a cut and dry type of
no,
case.
no.
Um, but talking about parents that so this one, I can't say she killed her or she didn't. I
No.
don't know. One day when I
My
just
pros and cons list are kinda even at
I
this point.
know. One day I'll ask God and see if he tells me when I get up there. I'll say, hey, what's the verdict on this? But speaking of parents that do kill, and a case that's a little bit more cut and dry than the Casey Anthony case, let's talk about the Watts case. For, again, anybody who doesn't know the Christopher Watts case, he was a married man. His wife was Shanann, and I always say it wrong, but I think that's right.
Yeah.
Shanann.
S-H-A kind of or apostrophe A-N-N. So Shanann.
Shanann.
I've heard it listed several different ways, and I was like, I'm going to have mom actually tell me. So in an interview,
I tried practicing it, and I still got it wrong. But she was pregnant. She was pregnant, and then they had 2 small children, Bella and Cecile, I believe. And I think they were 3 and 4. And Christopher Watts comes home one day, and everybody's gone. And he doesn't know what happened. He's calling her cell phone. He's calling her friends. Nobody can find her. And her and the girls are missing for a very long time. Well, after the investigation starts, he starts switching up his story. He's not really given details. Things are changing. Minor details are changing.
Very erratic.
Yes. And he started acting very weird. Well, come to find out, he was having an affair. The girlfriend had no idea that he had a family or that he had been married. Nothing. She thought he was single. I think she lived in a different town. But his wife was pregnant, and he murdered his wife, both of his small children. He buried his wife in a shallow grave and took his 2 small children, 2 daughters, and put them into oil barrels and left them there.
Like tankers, like
the tank.
And not a barrel, like the big giant water towers that you see, but filled with oil.
Yes, not like the Jeffrey Dahmer ones, the big.
And remember too, not only did he put Shanann in a shallow grave, he put his unborn son still in her womb and her. And this was another thing that kind of killed me after the fact of learning this case. So after decomposition, all this stuff, the body births. So she birthed this baby in this shallow grave, which I don't know if many of you follow a lot of investigative crime. I do. Sorry. That's it. That's what happened.
And thankfully, I mean, to put a little disclaimer on it, because that is awful. When the body does that, the baby is already passed as well.
Yeah. Oh no, this was not a live. This is already
the baby was born into a shallow grave and suffocated. Nothing like that. The baby went inside the mother's body. And when the investigation started and they finally realized that he started doing it, or that he did this, the thing that baffles me on this one is that he said that he came home to his wife suffocating his 2 daughters. That she suffocated them with a pillow. That she suffocated both children with pillows, and in retaliation and anger, he held her down and then suffocated her. And okay,
let's blame the victim. Let's blame the dead woman.
Well, and
for your stupidity
If I come home, and we'll use my husband for example, he's never done anything like this. Babe. Yeah, sorry, honey, but you're my guinea pig tonight. If I came home and my husband had a pillow on top of my son's face, I'm not going to roll him over and put a pillow on his face. I'm going to beat him with every single thing in my reach on my way to them. I'm grabbing
him alive so that he can be tried.
Yes, it's going to be like a WWE match. If there's a chair, you're getting hit with it. If there's a dog, throw the dog at you. Like, I would do everything in my power. Sorry, Ram. He's a big boy. I'm not picking him up. But I would do everything in my power to stop that person from suffocating my child, especially 2, and 2 of them. So the amount of time that would take, I just don't see. What did he do? Just stand there and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, now I'm going to suffocate you. The story makes no sense, and
I think on average too, from something that I had watched, it's anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes is an average human or average adult to suffocate. Children, okay, let's even say 4 to 8 minutes. Again, you're going to stand there
for 20 minutes.
Watch right now. We're at 39 minutes. count 8 minutes from now and think,
Right.
this is how long it took to possibly suffocate 1, 2, 3 people. Are you really expect me to believe that?
Right. Well, and he said when he walked in, she was suffocating them. So he
Right.
caught her supposedly in the act.
Right.
So you're telling me as a grown man, you can't handle an 8-month pregnant woman? Like,
Right.
okay, I think if you straight out clocked her, people would understand. I'm not
Right.
saying that hitting women is correct. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying. I'm
But
saying if you were
boot her
protecting
off
your
the
child,
bed, do it
right,
everything in your power
right,
to protect those babies that
right,
supposedly you love and you want back, and you're crying to the media
right.
about wanting so badly.
But then also, I don't know how Colorado is because that's where this crime happened.
Right.
But again, like I'm pretty sure I want to say it's classified under self-defense. If somebody
Yeah.
is harming my child and I take action and I protect my child and you get hurt in the process, I do think that's almost like a protecting your ground or
Yeah.
some
Stand your
type
ground.
of
Right.
self-defense. That's our job, is to protect our children, you know. And so if he did come in and he hit her or he pushed her or whatever it was and she got hurt, even if it did result in her death, why not call the police right then and there and say,
Right.
hey, I came home, my wife had killed my children, I snapped and I tried to protect them and this is what
Right.
happened. You're going to take
I
all 3 bodies, hide them and act like it never happened?
Right. And this is where, again, now you look at Casey's case and you look at
Yeah.
Chris's case and you say lies were told,
Mhm.
bodies are hit. Like, okay, I understand not wanting to get in trouble. I get it. You run a red light and you don't want to get in trouble and you're looking around and you're like, okay, these are humans.
Right. But
We've all, like, at
Casey had
some point
nothing.
you have to say, this is not okay.
Right.
I need to, even if I get in trouble,
Right.
fine, do the right thing.
But look at the big picture. Casey had nothing to gain from
Right.
killing Kaylee.
Oh, he had everything.
Chris
Right.
had everything to gain, so he says. He didn't wanna be married. He was tired of being a dad, in his own words. He had a mistress that he
Mhm.
wanted to run away with, and he even told somebody that he can't get divorced because she would take everything he had.
Right.
So if
But
she's
here's the funny thing.
gone.
She was actually the breadwinner. So
Yes, she was.
the stuff that I was listening to today, she at 25 was working for a company that's kind of
Mhm,
a almost like a West Coast customs type thing. So she bought her first house, had it custom built,
mhm.
4,000 some odd square feet. I actually sent you the link this
Yeah, you
afternoon. Had it custom, everything in that
Mhm.
house is custom at 25 years old.
Yes.
500 something thousand dollars at
Mhm.
that time back in, 2015 or whatever it
Right.
was. So she left and sold that house to move to Colorado
Mhm.
to start this life over.
Yes.
So, and here was the part that blew my mind. So she worked for Thrive Company, which is kind of one of those like tiered marketing
Mhm,
things. She had an account. She then put an account in Chris's name and she took care
mhm,
of that. Then she put an account, I think, in his parents, each of one of his parents'
mhm.
name and her own parents' names.
Yes.
And she ran all 5, 6 of those
Mhm,
to tiers where they were, kind of like Mary Kay and Avon, where they had
mhm,
the cars, they had the allowance,
mhm.
so this woman is, you know, raising 2 babies, taking care of households, taking care of all this. They were in
Yep.
massive debt, but she's
Yes.
running all of this stuff
But
while
he
he's just
knew
right.
if
And he
he
was
if
bored?
he
Are
divor
you kidding me?
if he divorced her, e women would. I know
Yep.
that people are gonna
Here
get
we
mad,
here
but
we go. Yeah, no,
yeah, but
and that's
again, you know,
that sexist
if
part.
if a couple gets divorced, it
Mhm.
is just natural that the man is going to have to pay alimony unless
Yep.
you're freaking married to, like, Mariah Carey. I don't
Right.
know. But the man normally has to pay child support, alimony, depending on how long they were together. So the man does kinda lose in this situation.
Mhm.
In normal situations. So if he were to leave her or divorce her, he would still have to pay child support, not only on 2, but soon to be 3 children till they're
And remember,
18
he
and
lied to Nicole about
yes,
even having a family.
she
So
had
it
no idea.
yeah.
Well, and I do have to back up a little bit. What I do have to say that I give her props because as soon as she found out, and she found out on the news, she didn't
Yeah.
even know what was going on. She found out on the news that he was convicted of murdering his family. When she found out, she called the police and she cooperated. with everything. She gave them
Yep.
her phone, text messages, emails.
You were a
She
wire, I
literally,
believe.
like, yeah, she's like, "I had no idea. Here's everything that you need."
Yep.
And that right there proves that I truly believe when she said she had no idea, that she really had no idea that he was married.
Right.
You
No,
know, and
I agree. And again, you have those people that are like, listen, I screwed up.
Mhm.
I didn't know he was married, but now I do. And here's what you need. You do what you want with it.
Yeah,
She even kept the lie going with him and recordings of
protecting.
calling him
Yeah.
saying, I still love you. I didn't
Mhm.
know. It's okay. We're going to work on this, trying to make things right. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing that I was watching too, is that, people were painting Shanann as this cruel person and this horrible, controlling, narcissistic. And you know what? I've always said
Beneath.
there's a fine line between being confident and cocky. And
Yes.
maybe she crossed the line every once in a while, but knowing in her past that she was very quiet and meek, and it
Mhm.
was really a acting class and kind of those types of things
Right.
that brought her out of her shell. And the fact that, listen, his parents didn't believe that this kid had a peanut allergy and almost killed one of the baby. Like, are
Yeah.
you kidding me? At
Well,
some point, like, listen,
mhm.
again, as a mom, we've all been like, all right, I'll let my in-laws do this, I'll let them do, and then you get to a point where you go, no,
Right.
now we're done. And if
Right.
you won't step up, I'm going to.
Well, and even if she was cocky or even slightly narcissistic,
Right.
it doesn't warrant being
Being
murdered, you
murdered.
know? So he has no excuse
No,
whatsoever. It's not that he was defending anybody. He was not defending his children, or he wouldn't have put them
no.
in oil barrels. He wasn't defending anything.
Right.
I truly believe with this case that he just wanted to be a
A new
single
life.
guy with
Mhm.
some girl that they can just do whatever they want, when they want, and how they want.
Yep.
And it's a sad case. I don't feel bad for him. I'm glad that he, was convicted, and I think he was put on death row, but I do think that that got pulled back. So I think
I
he's
think they're
just life
appealing,
in
yeah.
prison. Yeah, so he went from death row to life in prison, which even better, because knowing that he killed 2 little girls, he's probably getting exactly what he deserves, and I'll leave it
Right.
at that so that it stays PG.
Karma.
Right. But, I guess one of the things that I do like about both of these cases, and one of the reasons I wanted you to be on, is because not only does it consist of true crime and murder and lies and all that, but both of these cases actually have a little bit of a paranormal twist to them.
Oh,
Um, we'll start with the Watts case.
yeah.
Um, During the investigations, there are videos all over
Mhm.
line where you can see a little blonde-haired girl in the small corner running back and forth. And you did your research and you said it was confirmed that it was somebody else's daughter. But
Right.
they also have there's
It
a
was
guy.
the woman. Yeah, it was the woman who, um, it was her best friend that had talked to her that night, and she was the one that really started all this and spearheaded
Yeah,
all of it. I guess it was her daughter, and there was,
in the
I guess, a
background.
couple different videos. Right.
Yeah,
So when the police were there talking to her, the body cam footage had caught this little
yes,
shadow running, and
yes,
she had at some point said, "No, that's my daughter."
yes.
But
But they cut that out, of course, to make
right,
you that's how paranormal shows work
back to
sometimes.
the media controlling the
Yes.
narrative.
They're trying to make it this thing. And then there
Right.
is a guy, oh gosh, I forget his name, but he does have a couple different videos. I think he has them on YouTube and on TikTok and things like that, where he goes to the house when it was vacant, after Chris was arrested. And it was, of course, nobody's going to want to buy a house that this family was
Right.
murdered in. And he goes up and he puts his camera up. And again, we both know from being in the field, sometimes light can hit wrong, or
Right. Yeah,
the sun
pareidolia.
can shine in, or cars
Yep.
driving by. But he puts his phone up to the window, or to, I think, the front door glass pane or something, and
Yeah.
you see a faint little white mist go across the top of
Yep.
the stairs. And he starts freaking out, like, did I just see one of the kids? Did I see one of the kids? And of course, my logical mind goes to, okay, was the window dirty? Where
Right.
was the sun located when you did this?
Right.
Did you move your camera? Was your
Did
shadow
something
in
drive by, cast a shadow,
there?
cast it on the dirt. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
reflection, so
Right.
I think, that's another thing that we've been trying to debunk the whole time is, is is this also not only true crime but paranormal? And with
Right.
Casey Anthony, you know, you mentioned that there were giggles and things heard, and I just wonder if the way that the human brain works, and again, we were both in paranormal, so we do love that stuff, and if it's true, that's even better for us.
Right.
But I do wonder if again, our brains are conditioned for closure. And both of
Yeah.
these cases didn't technically have closure. And in our field, when we do come across spirits and things that are paranormal, it tends to always be this person didn't have closure. They're stuck
Right.
here for a reason. They need to tell their story. So
Uh-huh.
when you have cases like this, do you think that it's just our human nature to want to kind of almost manifest these types of hauntings because now it adds another layer to the investigation? Or do you
Yeah.
think that maybe these children are stuck in this house?
I think it's a little bit of both. And here's why I say that. A lot of people can fake evidence. We've all
Mhm.
seen those videos. We've all, we've been around some of those people.
Yes.
And what kills me is the police body cam footage. So
Mhm.
there's a one video, you can pull it up on YouTube,
Mhm.
and it's a police officer, the canine and the canine handler, and they go into Shanann's um closet. I can't remember if it's one of the kids' closets or if it's her shoe closet, but you hear giggles. You
Mhm.
hear a toy go off.
Mhm.
The dog reacts, the officer reacts, the handler reacts. And now again, this is body cam. This is this
Mhm.
tiny little GoPro on a police officer. This isn't a handheld. They're literally doing this for evidentiary
Yeah.
reasons. This isn't for faking. This isn't for let's go
Mhm.
back later and edit. This is, I need to take this and this is what's going to court. This is what's
Yeah.
keeping me honest. This is what's going to prove that we were
Mhm.
here and we did a thorough investigation. So to hear those things, it's
Yeah.
hard.
But
And
I
kids are little, they're just playing. Think about it. If your life is just suddenly snapped and done, you're just going
we
to go
don't
about
know.
your day. You're a
But
little kid, you're playing,
right.
you're in mom's closet, you're doing all of these things. Who's to say that these kids don't know that they're gone?
Right. But then again, on the other side, you know, we in the field, we do run into a lot of residual
Yeah.
hauntings, you know, and I know you are the same way I am, is I'm a big believer in energy. And, you know,
Mhm.
when something really exciting and anything emotion filled can leave an imprint
Yeah.
on a location, a piece of land, an object, whatever it may be. Um, you know, and a lot of people will say, well, these girls were very young. They were 3 and 4. Why would God leave them behind? Why wouldn't he take them with them? Do these girls even know what staying behind means and what unfinished business means and
Right.
all of that? And
Or
then
who's
you
to say
have
that
the
they're not already gone? But again,
right.
think about it. You walk in your house every day. What do? You get up out of bed, you go to the bathroom, you
Mhm.
brush your teeth, grab your keys.
That's
That's your imprint.
imprinted.
Listen, I always joke that I'm going to haunt my house. Like
Yeah.
you
Whether you
leave
mean
an
to or
imprint
not.
wherever you go. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're here 3 years, 50 years, 100 years. That's going to leave an impression. And the more
Right.
places you go and the more places you're connected,
Mhm.
this was all these little girls had.
And it depends on your energy. And think
Right.
about how pure a child's energy is. You know, they're
Yeah.
not tainted by the outside world and the
Right.
negativity and the media and the drama and all of that,
Right.
you know.
They're just
But
little
again,
girls dancing.
yeah, but then again, on the other side, devil's advocate, that's what I do best, is there's a part of me that wonders if that guy I mentioned earlier and other aspects or other people are using this for views, using it to
Oh, yeah.
be, you know, internet famous. And I think unfortunately, you know, there's people like us who do like to go out and investigate and try to tell the stories and try to help these spirits and things like that. But then you have people who make this stuff up
Right.
and they contradict things and they manifest things just for internet fame. And you know,
Yeah.
they want the thousands of views and they want all this stuff and they're preying on a sad situation.
Right.
So it is
And I
very hard. I mean, you know,
yeah.
I wanna believe it's paranormal. I want to say, yes, not the little kids so much because that makes me sad, but I'm like, yes, I want to think that there's spirits there because then, of course, I'm going to want to go and investigate.
Right.
But, it's a hard situation because especially with residentials and take the crime out of it, with residentials, there's so many things, drugs, alcohol, abuse, neglect, there's so mental illness, all of these factors can leave an imprint on a place. And then you add murder into it, and to be a murderer, I think you have to have something wrong with you.
Oh yeah.
Well,
all
emotionally,
energy levels.
mentally. Yes, like that filter of, hey, that's probably not the best decision. I may want to choke you, but I'm not going to.
Right.
It's gone. And I don't know. It's such a hard thing for me because, like I said, I see these videos. I'm like, oh, that was cool, but was it real?
Yeah.
Then I want to download it. I want to slow it down. I want to brighten it up. I want to do all this fun stuff that we do for fun. But
I remember watching videos years ago and believing everything. And
Mhm.
now I look at things and I go, I could fake that.
Yeah.
I could see how this is. I could see, like, I was watching a video the other day and it was, this supposed figure walking across the yard and all of a sudden it disappears. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look way in the corner, you can see the shadow. I think it was just a glitch in the matrix. And they're like, no, it's this. And I'm like, but you can see the shadow. Like, no. Again, it's that neutral approach of let's watch it for what it is.
Mhm.
Let's watch for the timestamps. Let's watch for the, like,
Yes.
I want to believe there's something else. I don't want to believe that you close your eyes one day and
that's it.
Yeah. Like
right.
but I also don't want to get stuck. Like, I don't want to believe that I get stuck here. Like, I want to believe that I can just go through the different realms and I can walk around and do these things. And, then there's this whole thing of how as a parent do you do that? How as a parent do you take the life, create a life, take a life, live on this planet? All like that energy to me is mind blowing. It's this kind of full circle of how do you do this? And you're so excited for this little life. And maybe this is why I find it hard as a mother to say, like, Casey killed her daughter, because you're a mom, you're living your life, you're doing your thing, you're partying, you're in your 20s, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh snap, I gotta be a mom. I have to like suck it up. And then you feel every kick and every movement, and you give birth, and then you hold this child, and you're like, I'm responsible for you. Like, this is it. I was 23 when I had my son. I had put my entire 20s on hold, and it was like, but at the end of the day, that is my responsibility. And I remember Casey saying, she was my only responsibility, and I failed.
Yes.
I think that to me was the eye-opening moment, because as a mother, your job is, my son's right downstairs. He's 18 years old now. He is my only responsibility in this world.
Yes.
And I can't imagine failing and then like go about my life, or having to create a lie. And Shanann, said, maybe she was a bad person. Maybe she was a great person. Who knows? But no one deserves that. No one deserves to have their life cut short, their children's life cut short. Casey, thank God, didn't drag a man into it. Chris, rotten hell, dude.
Right. Well, and as an ending thought, because unfortunately we are about to be at our time, but as an ending thought, as a parent, I would think that even if it was out of rage and you took your child's life, there has to be a level of regret. And I wonder if that level of regret is such a strong emotion that it can manifest a haunting.
Yes. I want to believe it can. I think energy, I think you create this chaos. If you think about even PK manifestation, what is that? That's your mind creating a haunting, a whatever. Like that to me, you think about all of that energy. Where does it go when you die? When it bursts and it bursts into 1,000 pieces and it goes into the universe.
Well, and if you regret taking the life of your child, who says that your manifestation isn't going to come back to haunt you as that child?
I agree.
But as great as this conversation is going, I could go for hours more because, Katie, I love talking to you. But unfortunately, we are at the end of our time. Nicole is not on tonight. And I know that I think Rini will be back next week. So I guess thanks for hanging out with us. Katie, thanks for being on the show. It was so fun talking to you. I love it. And you guys,
ready for the next one.
Yeah. And guys, we will see you next week, Thursday at 8 o'clock.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.